Okay, I'll call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Cindy,
Here.
Seth,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
AJ,
Here.
Tanya.
Okay, first period for public comment. Ruthie's going to wait, and I don't think Krista wants to say anything this time. Anybody online would like to make a public comment? Here's your chance.
Nobody else except for our council members and Sarah.
Okay. Approval of committee minutes for March 31st, 2026.
Todd, I'll second it.
Motion by Tanya, second by Todd to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion with possible action on schedule for brush compost pickup. Sarah?
Okay, well, for a while now, I've been thinking about like how we go out and do brush and compost because as with the people also in the front office, have answered a lot of questions like, when is my brush going to be picked up? So kind of like the evolution, we did Fridays. Fridays are the day. And then if there was too much, we come back on Monday. And then we also started, a couple of years ago, like trying to get ahead of it so that it wasn't out for the weekend. So then we come out on Thursday if we thought there're going to be a lot. And so like the question to people, it got really confusing. And then just also like that meant we were driving a lot, right? Like we were doing the city once and then coming back again. So the general public works managers and I have a meeting, like we've been having a meeting, and this is one of the things that came up. And so we have a proposal to set a schedule better. So essentially we would be having 2 days. Thursdays would be one half of the city and Friday would be the other half of the city. And it would always happen that way. We would only go through that side in that day. That should be able for us to be able to pick up everything like that we might need. The downside obviously is that there's 2 days of kind of disruption of the schedule. Like I think why it was tried to be flexible before is that like you're not sending people out and then like reassigning them to something if they ended up not having to pick up a full day's worth of brush. But talking to Wade and Tyrell, they thought that was manageable. I think it would be a real benefit to the message. Like, if you are on the east half of the city, you will have your brush picked up on Thursday. Not maybe Friday, not maybe Thursday or Monday, excuse me, that you are going to have your brush picked up on Thursday. And then the west side would be picked up on Friday. Sort of like a same like, garbage and recycling pickup has a scheduled day for everybody. So looking for feedback on that, but I think that would save a lot of questions that we're getting.
Yes, I think that is a good idea. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time when for some reason you just cannot do pickup on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Then what are you going to do?
Well,
Or
that's a
Friday.
good question. We'll have to come up with a plan about if we miss a day. I mean, it's the same, I guess, if we miss a Friday, right? I mean, we'll be scheduling that we need to do it and we'll just do what we need to do to get out there. So I guess what would stop us from getting out there is just like a lack of crew, but we actually have a hard time on Fridays. Fridays in the summertime are the days that we end up having people trying to take their vacation because in the street department, we have a mandate that people basically have to stick around in the winter time, right? So everybody's trying to take their vacation in the summertime. And so often we only have 3 people around on a Friday. So I think it won't necessarily be worse to deal with that situation on a Thursday.
You think you'll wait till Monday or you think Thursdays will get Fridays and
So we would have to set a pattern. I think
I think people are going to ask.
Yeah. Well, I would like to model it, like not reinvent the wheel, right? So like whatever Southwest Sanitation does, we'll follow. So like if they push everybody back a day, then we'll push everybody back a day. I can't remember what they do. If they skip and do the next day, we'll just be consistent with whatever they do.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
It's fine to do that, but somebody's going to get a pile of phone calls. And it's been that way for 35, 36 years on Friday. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on like what you mean by that?
Even with this new system, you think?
It's been that way. We've always picked up in the garbage years ago, and we had the garbage pickup. The guys in the garbage truck would start on Thursdays. and then the west side. That was their side. And then the old garbage truck was the guys the rest of the crew went on Fridays and got the east side. But when they got rid of the garbage truck, I know it used to, like Sarah said, they'd start Thursday afternoon, and there was times you couldn't get it done on Friday. But, I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, I just know what
Yeah.
has always been in place for as long as I can remember, since I've been around, at least associated with the city, but
What did you say you did then? If, say you couldn't pick it up on Thursday? What did you guys do?
Like a Friday, if you missed.
it was a
Friday.
holiday, we just went the day early. Right?
A day early?
A day early. Because it was always Friday pickup. It wasn't Thursday, Friday. The
I
guys
thought
just
you
went
said it
out.
was.
The
I thought you
guys
said
just
you
went
said
out. The
it-
guys would get a jump on things on Thursday.
Oh,
But it was never set. In fact, like Sarah said, it was some waste of fuel. They'd go around and you'd go back there Friday and somebody that didn't have it, they're so used to having Friday pickup.
oh, I meant years ago when you were talking about garbage pickup and you did Thursday.
See, the garbage truck, okay, we used to have garbage
I
pickup.
remember.
And them guys would start on the west side after they got the garbage picked up on usually on Thursdays wasn't a big garbage pickup day. They were usually done by 2:00. So instead of going to get cardboard, which they got cardboard Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, they'd go get compost. And then the day they'd unload it. And then them guys were right away, they'd pick up cardboard in the morning and then compost the rest of the day on the Thursday side or what, excuse me. Well, all
I
right.
know, it's.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah, well, I mean, we certainly have to do
yeah.
like a big PR push and it's gonna take some time for people to get used to it. However, I think it just makes more sense. I mean, one, we only drive half the city no matter what, instead of driving the whole city in a day. And then just for consistency, because like as a person trying to portray what the message is, like, are you coming to pick up my compost? Well, you can come, you should be out on Friday, but sometimes they come Thursdays. And if they don't get everything, they come Monday. And it's like, it's a muddled message. And so I think, I mean, it's going to take time for people to adjust for sure. But,
April was always spring cleanup. I don't know if that's changed now
Uh.
since that. We just would go that people just knew we'd be around sometime. The whole month of April, we did it, but
Sure.
I don't, maybe it's, things
like
have changed
maybe
now.
Thursday and Friday, you would. or-
Well, whatever day the guys weren't doing something, we'd send a truck out.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because the whole month of April is always considered cleanup
Yeah.
month, but because everybody's cleaning their yards out from winter time. But
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're gonna change it, we'll obviously do what we're doing with the brush and compost, like, we're gonna need to get the PR out, set a date so that we give people some time ahead of time to learn about the situation, and then as of a specific date, so whether it's May 1st.
So this is the actual implementation of this change is not effective immediately. Okay, so anybody listening online, it's not effective immediately, that there will be further communication as to when
Yeah.
this actually takes effect.
Yeah.
So you think May 1st is a good date to shoot for?
Let me think about exactly what day of the week that is.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say that would make sense. It would give us 2 weeks to
The
get
first
the
Thursday of
message
the month?
out. May 1st is a Friday, so that would mean that we kind of mess things up with the Thursday. So if I am okay with not having a specific start date in the approval, that would be great. And I will work with the guys and Trina, because she'll be the one helping me get the word out. I assume she'll offer her show and things like that to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
word out. So
Yeah.
I would say if you could I would say the first part of May. We will set a date for the first part of May.
So Tanya, you want to make the motion or someone want to make a motion? I thought you were gonna kind of thinking of.
Sure,
doing
I
it.
forgot. Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the proposal and
Date to be determined, start date to be determined.
with a start date to be determined.
Thank you.
Todd, I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Tanya, second by Todd. Any further discussion, questions?
I just want to say that I am in strong favor of the people actually implementing our policies and ordinances, solving problems for themselves that make things better for themselves. So continue to encourage your staff to
Yeah.
come up with these solutions that might hopefully make their jobs easier. So thank you.
We're hoping to make it easier for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion with possible action on brush compost site fees for commercial use.
Okay, so this is related to commercial use of the brush and compost site. So if you remember in the format we're working towards, there's going to be the central location at the city shop for residents. And then we're going to use the brush site still, meaning like when we pick up this brush and compost and when we're doing our stuff. And then we're also going to have the option for commercial to use that site. We're going to require them to use that site, maybe not an option. So meaning if you're operating a business where you're doing it, then you would be considered commercial. And so we wanted to start talking to people and letting them know and at least getting initial feedback. I mean, we've given the idea out, but we've never actually said how much we're talking about. And so I've been playing with some numbers. So I don't have a lot of frame of reference, but I do know that the city of La Crosse charges a flat fee of $2,000, which seems like that's a very large number for our kind of use, right? And so I've been trying to think of a way to make it user-friendly for everyone. So one of the things that the commercial folks are going to need to do is have some type of log. So like they're going to have to, it is an honor system for sure, but we're hoping people work with us because then they can keep using the site, right? So having a log of like the address that it came from and approximately how much. And so then we'll kind of have a general idea of how much. I was talking to somebody who does use the site commercially, and they said they bring about 8 yards a week, like per job. They had a trailer of 4 yards. Yeah, right. That's a fair amount. And then I think like, thinking about that, if they came 10 times a year, that would be roughly 100 yards. So I think like I'm trying to make it so that there's increments for people. Like I'd hate to set a fee so that every user has the same fee, because you're not necessarily going to use it the same amount, right? And especially, one thing I thought it was like, well, give me an idea of how much. Well, people don't always know, right? You don't know what tree job you're going to get now if you might be getting it in September, right? So looking at that, I thought $500 was a nice increment per 100 yards. So like that's sort of a general amount. And then people can ahead of time, if they want, say, oh, well, I know I'm going to do 200 yards and we can set them up accordingly. But I think that's a good like number to start with, at least start with in talking to people. And that way, we can track it as we go along. And if they end up, oh gosh, I did 100 yards and we still have half a season left, then we can say it's a 100-yard increment, and then they pay another $500 for the rest of the year. So I'd like to talk to them about that. I think once we start those conversations about how much, people will start telling me about how much they use it, right? So like this gentleman, he kind of gave me an estimate of how much he was thinking that he'd bring, but he also said like, I just can't commit to $2,000, like, cause he also used La Crosse, because, I just don't even know if I'm going to have that much business. And like I said, I think that's a large number for our facility. So I'm looking for approval to start conversations with these commercial businesses and propose the rate at $500 per 100 yards. Get some feedback from people. And then if for some reason that doesn't work, or they're like, I would rather it in 50-yard increments or something like that. Like we can start having that conversation. But I think that's a good place to start having a conversation. So let me know your thoughts.
I'm kind of curious because Todd does this kind of thing. So
Can I ask, was it a full-time cutter that brings in 8 yards a week? Do you know if
He
he,
said a job.
okay, a job, but is he a full-time cutter? Does it, I don't say no
Based on the
name.
way that his business name, I would assume, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, and this is exactly the I like to go to them with an amount and not just say like, hey, what do you think? Right. So that's why I think it's a good place to start. Do you think he would use 100 yards in a year?
Yeah, probably so. I do it one, I am retired, so I just do a job a week usually. I don't want to do any more than that. I got too many other hobbies, but Yeah, 100 yards, tell you, I ain't gonna, as I chip it, right? So
Right.
I can get more on my chips than guys are gonna haul in with brush.
Which is actually better for us to have it
It
chipped.
is, I
Yeah.
know it is. I know the guys like it better, but yeah, I knew there was gonna be a cost. I knew this was gonna happen. I could have, that Isle Plume in lacrosse is $2,000.
Just a flat rate,
Yeah,
2,000.
they just pay that one time for the year.
We can't just charge so much per 100 yards or something.
Yeah,
Well, that's what
I'm
you're saying.
suggesting,
Well,
yeah.
I meant as they use it. So 100 yards is a
So that's,
lot.
I thought about that a lot, but then I think we're creating an administrative
Yeah, I suppose.
job because one is it's going to be challenging for us to like check in every time they use it. And the idea was in my mind is like monthly we would check in, see how much people are at because they're going to be submitting these logs and sort of judging as we go along. But I'd hate to have to now have the administration of like every load or every time we have to check in and then charge them, right? Because then they gotta accept money at the front. I mean, they already are, but like on a more frequent basis. We're really just not set up to like do it.
Well, I meant
like that.
if you could trust them to keep track, if you're trusting them to say 100 yards, you could trust them to keep track and just pay them, I don't know, every 6 months or something. I don't know. I guess I'm
Well,
more,
that would be almost like we're doing, right? So
Yeah,
like we would
it would.
start with that first amount and then if they, like, I would say I would never force anybody to pick more than 100 yards right off the bat. And if they worked for 6 months and it was $500 and then they anticipated more, and then we would go ahead and more. But I'm trying to minimize the number of times that we have to like have a transaction.
oh, sure, I understand. I don't know if that sounds like a lot or not.
No, I realized I was going to pay someday. I figured that, right? But
Yeah.
I will say, I know 3 cutters out there that aren't taxpayers. I am a taxpayer. I do got a commercial business, but I do pay taxes in Viroqua. I don't know if that would, I expected, I know I got to pay my fair share. I'm not saying that, but I know 3 of the tree cutters out there, and they're pretty full time, and they don't pay any taxes to Viroqua, or I do.
Yeah, the business I talked to was not a Viroqua business. And I will tell you that one of the things that I have realized out of all of this is how many people are using it that aren't from Viroqua. Like I've had number of people like be concerned about how it impacts their business. And then when I say, well, you're only supposed to bring stuff from Viroqua, I've gotten, most of the time, or like, things that are just leading me to believe that it is probably used more than we think by non-taxpayers. Or not, I don't even say taxpayers,
mean-
I say property owners, right?
Do you mean the projects are not within city limits or just the business owner doesn't live in Viroqua?
No, that the project, like people are bringing stuff from outside of
Oh.
the city limits, brush from outside the city limits to the compost site.
So what are they supposed to do with these logs?
What do you mean
You
like?
said they have to keep a log.
Oh, a log, like a documentation.
Oh, sorry, log.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure I knew what we were
No,
talking about.
the-
Because I was
the
like,
written
"Look at the
record.
logs and that
The
pile."
written, really good. The written record.
Yeah, so I would make like a formatted piece of
Sure,
paper,
sure,
you know
sure,
what I
but-
mean? So that they could fill it out online or whatnot, and basically just tell me the address, the date, and how much. And the idea behind it is I'm really trying to get an understanding of how much we're actually receiving and from where. The other part of it is like, if you have to associate it with an address, like it just makes you think a little bit more about
Mhm.
like, am I really bringing this from that site or am I
Mhm.
saying it's not from there? So that would be the idea, and that like they'd send it in, monthly or something like that, or every 2 months. We'd have to figure out like the frequency. It might be too much every month, but just kind of checking in. Like I really just, I don't think we need to fully police everything, but I also think we need to watch what's happening and just give people reason to comply with what we've set out, which is, we're providing the service, we want materials from the city. And are you, giving effort at least to follow the rules? So, and then we're going to be doing the same thing. So I'm going to start having the guys like log at least how much brush or how many loads they take out when they pick up compost. And the same thing, that was one of the benefits of having everything go to the shop, is like we can physically see how much stuff is coming from residents, and then we know what's happening. Because again, we're having a hard time just understanding like what we have. I mean, we can see what's out there, but even like year to year, like I don't necessarily know how much of it's ours, how much of it's commercial. And just trying to get a better handle on like the whole situation and minimizing things that I think we're going to see a significant reduction in what we're getting, period. Somebody was telling me they followed somebody in the other day that were coming from outside of town to the brush site loaded. Right. So and I've had phone calls of people asking like, you mean I can't use the site anymore? And they're not in the city. Right. So, yeah. So I hope I answered that question. Okay.
Personally curious why they're not using the township.
I don't even know enough about what they offer.
I think Rockwood Township even offers a brush site right now.
Don't.
No, they don't have nothing.
Got it. Well, that would be why they're not taking it to the township dump
Yeah.
site. Hmm.
When they talked about it on the radio, I know they said, you no longer will be able to bring brush from outside of Roquan. And I wanted to say, no, it's always been that way.
That was my nice way of saying it.
Oh,
I wanted to say you will not be able to bring this because, or I said,
we caught you.
you will only be, we will only accept waste from within city limits is how we phrase it. Cause I didn't want to say in one way or another, but
Yeah.
like,
Well, when that Bojo guy, whatever his name is, that does the news on WVRQ, like Trina's not here to tell me, he's got some he's got some funny name. You know, anybody listens, but he's the one that said, no
oh,
longer will you be able to bring.
well, and see, there's that perception too. And,
Yeah.
you know, maybe people are just like not intentionally going against the policy. They just maybe don't know. It's the Viroqua site everybody can use, right?
Yeah,
So this is good dialogue. Like we're getting the message out about.
Couple admin questions here, so, and you and I didn't have time to dialogue on this, but one is just to confirm, so like even with the fees for these contractors, the rules are going to state that no brush originating from outside the city limit. Okay. Is there any teeth to whatever agreements we have with them on there? Should we find out that they are?
Well, we could just not have them have access anymore. Is there
Well,
any-
Well, and just something to think about as we're continuing to explore on this, and I would bring it up to you ahead of time, but it's interesting to see what the council or the committee's reaction is that if there's an agreement, like you will have access to a brush site, but here are the rules. If we find you are in violation of said rules, these are the consequences, would be good for us to map out. And one of them would be, you know, anything originating from outside the city is not allowed in here. If we find out that you are, there would be penalty of, I mean, I think there
See
should
what
be
the
some sort of
penalty is.
monetary penalty, and that's where George
Oh,
would come.
right.
Right, a monetary penalty, like as a first offense, after second offense, they lose their
Sure.
ability to be there, right? Just something like that. And I think once people, they're like, oh, yeah, I can't do this, but who's ever gonna know? And like, there's no teeth to it anyway. You know, they're like, it's a slap on the wrist and I get in trouble with Sarah, oh, big deal, I'm gonna go do what I need to do to make money.
Mm.
But actually having teeth written down in an agreement says, yep, it's shown right there. You signed this
Right.
agreement. We know that wood originated from mountain townships. Your penalty is $500 or whatever we want to identify. The second thing would be then if we find out they're like not being truthful in their log, I would say the same thing, right? Like you are hereby, whenever you indicate on your log, we are assuming that you are doing so to the best of your knowledge. And if we find out that this is inaccurate and deceptive, then, you know, you'll also be in breach of the agreement. And
Sure.
so I just think we should tighten up. If it is going to be a business arrangement, let's make it a business arrangement.
Sounds good.
With the requirement to clean up what they dumped.
Yep, that would be a great one too. If you had to come back, how you would enforce that, I guess, would be a question. Like, no,
You know
that's also
exactly
your
who
wood,
we
right?
got, Yeah.
Yeah, but
And if they came in with a one full load, you get to take one full load.
Well, and so I think, you know, we've been able to address what we've received up to now. And it's just about like preventing more of it from
Yeah.
happening. And so we can be however aggressive about penalties as we want. But I think it's, you know, this is, if people want to still be able to use the site, this is the big thing.
And I don't want to bring those suggestions up in any way to sort of overrule your approach, which has essentially been like an incremental approach to shoring up how we
Right.
conduct this. I don't want to take it from 0 to 75 too
Right.
fast, but I do think like having a couple clear
Yeah.
provisions and expectations within a signed agreement with these
Yeah.
contractors would probably be a good balance.
Sounds like an idea.
Quick question, Sarah. What would you do with an ice storm like this again, if this happens? Because you would have had brush clear to Broadway if you'd have had it down the
Right.
city garage. You guys would have had it, you know, they were hauling in there. I seen three people, well, I hauled it, I ain't gonna lie, but I seen three people that I've never seen in my life before. And I've been down there, you know, but this ice storm, I don't know what you guys, I know the shop, I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, but an ice storm like this, if you'd had that open, you'd had brush clear to Broadway.
Right. Well, I mean, some of it was us, some of it was businesses. So like they'd already have that agreement and, you know, we can certainly talk about emergency situations. But I mean, at this point, we would have to receive that. I think opening it back up, I mean, I guess that's the thing we could think about. If we found that that was problematic, we could open it up temporarily, like for a week or whatever, while people are cleaning up. So that could be a way.
So I called Wade on Saturday. I just thought I'd give him a heads up, and it was clear out. It was about 20 yards from the gate.
Oh, it's been a,
So that was if you'd have had that down here, I know you guys haul a lot of brushing on when the day of the storm. I know that,
yeah,
but that was clear out almost to the gate.
it was bad.
Do we want to consider a discounted rate for businesses that are within the city limits?
Yeah, you know, I've really been thinking a lot about like the difference between Baroque businesses and that, and we could certainly consider it. Like my current approach is just the simpler the better. But and maybe it's still simple where it's like whatever, 50% or less. But yeah, I guess that's up to you. What I was going off of, you know, I figure it was about this last time we had a lot of material out there, like years worth of material out there. And it ended up being closer to $2 a yard. But we gained benefit in the quantity because you pay an amount just to get them out there, right? And so I think that looking at it from our perspective, that it was a reasonable amount to ask per yard. So we're recuperating our costs. So, I mean, I guess it depends. I'd have to take some assessment of how many businesses were in Viroqua, which is another part of, I guess, the conversation that we could have with them. Like, again, I wanted to have a number that you guys felt comfortable with when I like started talking to them, because we got to make connections with all these people and start having these conversations more than we already have. We have done a little bit of work already, but if we're formalizing things, so it'd be interesting to see if they have feedback about like, hey, I'm a Viroqua business, you know what I mean? Like, could we work
No.
something out? And
I'm sorry, I shouldn't said it that way either. I just said I just knew 3 cutters weren't, but no, I knew there's going to be a pet fee. I'm okay with $500.
Okay.
It's going to be, it's only fair. I'm no different than anybody else. So, but I just made that, sorry, I made that comment. I mean, I shouldn't have said that, but I just know 3 of the cutters weren't Viroqua residents. And I don't know. I shouldn't even said none. Shouldn't open my mouth.
It's okay. I mean, it's also a question of disincentivizing people who are from out of town, right? Like that. So it's
I'm trying to think, there's what, like
that.
3 businesses physically that would be physically located in Viroqua? Probably.
Yeah.
And then probably the rest are surrounding area. I don't know. I mean, I think it depends. Like, are you, I mean, it would certainly incentivize like Viroqua itself. I mean, you're getting area people. And again, we're requiring that it comes from Viroqua already. So it's kind of like a part of that service, but I guess I'm open. I'm open to what you guys would like.
Yeah, what I would suggest is giving Sarah more time to figure out what the fee structure is, because it's a question of like, are they just residents of Viroqua? Is their business located
Right.
in Viroqua? Do they even have a brick and mortar? So like some of that, and like what are other communities doing? So it'd be more consistent. I like the idea, and maybe there's more looking into it, but maybe not enough information for tonight's.
Yeah, I don't think lacrosse changes their rate depending on who's doing it, but it doesn't mean we can't.
So I think you want a motion to move forward with conversations, starting at $500 for 100 yards. I'll make that motion.
Is it jail second?
Okay, motion by Tanya, second by AJ. We don't need a roll call, no. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, motion carries. Discussion with possible action on parking lot by Mr. G's.
So Cindy, I'm wondering just, we will get to that, but I know the next one is fairly quick and Sarah's already got the control of the screen. So if you're okay, we'll go to 7 real quick and then skip back to 6. It should take all of 30 seconds.
Review and
Promise.
approval of TAPCO annual traffic control signal preventative maintenance contract.
All right, this is our standard annual contract with TAPCO. They provide an annual maintenance service for all of our traffic signals. And besides the fact that the fee continues to go up, which I don't really know that what hasn't continued to go up, it is $40 more than last year per intersection. But again, not a large surprise because a lot of what they're charging is traveling here. And it has continued to go up. They also have a set rate here about if they have to come out and do any regular time or after hours time. So that's always good to know what you're getting yourself into. They are really the go-to place. I mean, there are other companies out there, but they've helped us out so many years. We've had really good service with them. And so I would say that I'm looking forward to approval of the annual maintenance contract.
Okay, anybody want to have any questions? Make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the TAPCO annual traffic control signal preventative maintenance contract.
Todd will second it.
Motion by Tanya, second by Todd. Roll call, please.
Seth,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
and Cindy.
Aye, motion carries. Discussion with possible action on brush compost site fees for commercial use. Oh yeah, we did that. I thought that sounded familiar. Discussion with possible action on parking lot.
We're having this conversation because Ruthie, Thriftless Cafe, had mentioned that she's having a lot of trouble with her drivers being okay with the condition of Mr. G's parking lot. So just for everybody's reference, I think everybody knows what we mean when I say Mr. G's parking lot, but I am just going to put that up on screen just so that we're all on the same page. So that would be the parking lot. Ooh, now it's making things all sorts of fun. Okay. We're talking about the parking lot here by City Hall. And you can actually see the area that's the worst from the aerial photo. So here's, this is Main Street and then Decker here. And so we call it Mr. G's parking lot internally because this is Mr. G's here. And so this is a city parking lot. You can see by the way that the parcel lines are, that we own, the city owns the land that is the parking lot, basically just the parking lot area. There's this small section that connects us out through the alley, but most of the alley is not a part of the city property, but all of this area is. And so your trucks are driving in here and coming this way, and I think they're parking in this area often and then loading out. And I think they continue and go through this way or the other way, depending on what they're doing. But from what I can tell, this is the area that is in worst condition. And that's the area we've been working on. So just as like what's the street view? So here's the street view, right? We've got the mural parking lot. And you can see the condition of the parking lot is pretty terrible, just in general. Like the asphalt condition, but this one area in particular is really bad because it sits and collects water and asphalt are not friends. And it makes it worse as it was through time because the water gets in there, it freezes, it busts it out, and then like the whole story keeps going. And so since you had a lot of the concerns, we went in, we did a first round of potholing. And then after that, I believe Ruthie still had some complaints from some of the drivers. And so I went out there and looked again because I just assumed that it was just the potholes, but that whole area is low. And you can see that in the aerial photo, like this isn't an oil stain, right? Like that is a low area, right? And so we did go out there and try to like kind of wedge it a little bit, meaning like flatten it out. Cause I think that maybe some of the problem they were having was like when there's a longer truck, they're kind of bottoming it out between like coming in and exiting. Have you had any complaints since? Okay.
Ruthie, can you grab the mic, please? Thank you.
Is it on?
It should be on. Sorry, I'm just, you gotta press, sorry, right middle button.
Thanks, Ruthie. Now I'll be able to hear you.
Oh, cute, Seth. I gave the email addresses of Nate and Sarah to the one delivery driver who did refuse to go in there one day and then was the one who parked on Court Street for 45 minutes, blocking all traffic. He was the angriest, but since the second round of it, I haven't heard anything, and I'm just assuming you guys haven't either, because at that
No.
point I was like, you can just email the city.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so at least hopefully the dire immediate issue is taken care of with what we've done out there, but it's not a long-term solution at all. We use a lot of cold mix to level it out. And cold mix can be good, but it's not it can also just get kind of squished out and it disappears. Different than like having like a road when they're putting it down hot. So I guess that's sort of the current status of it. So the parking lot was one of the projects that was put forward for the capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan cost was looking specifically at redoing the surface itself. But also meaning digging out a lot of the material. Because usually when you see this kind of failure, it's because what's underneath it isn't any good anymore either, right? So the base material. So the estimate was pretty high. It'd be interesting to see if we end up using that much, like having to remove that much. It's really hard to tell until you tear everything off what's underneath. But that was put in, it was like 173,000, I believe, something along those lines. So I think this was kind of, I'll let Nate take over, but the idea was just kind of keeping these projects on your radar, right? So I thought I made a mistake. I had thought that this was in the last short list was on the project, but it was not. I got tricked by a spreadsheet. It was in the no section, not the yes section. So I think this is one of those reminders about we have lots of different priorities and we have to look at our priority list, but this is one of those ones that obviously impacts people and their business. I will say that one of the things that we've looked at, and I know Nate and I just started talking about it, is is it public works or is it economic development? We did have at one point in time, the WEDC, Wisconsin Economic Development, they used to have these artist or architect folks would come and do renderings of things. They did one of the bathhouse, and they did a way of trying to beautify this. Now there's a mural on the side that wasn't there when they had looked at it, but they had done some kind of screening, kind of blocking, so that it wasn't maybe as you weren't seeing so much when you look that way. We also put a sign up so that says that it's a city lot that wasn't there previously, but it is still something that's the way that if you're not from here, it's hard to sometimes tell. So there is some like helping of the downtown that comes with like maybe doing more than just making a better asphalt surface. All right, Nate, do you want me to transfer to you or do you want me to show something?
Sure. While we're doing that, does anybody have any additional questions for Sarah? Okay. All right. With that, I'll just bring everybody back up to speed. Yeah, you can kill it if you want. Just take me a second here while I. So just as to kind of bring everybody back up to speed, we are, as of sort of towards the beginning of 2025, we had been working on a draft plan for the capital improvement plan. At that time or shortly thereafter, we had started getting indications of issues with the landfill. And again, the issues with the landfill started off small and then have gotten bigger over the course of the last, 9 to 12 months, Sarah? And so for that reason, before we really understood the magnitude of that, we said, well, there's no sense in like completing the capital improvement plan when we have this albatross of a project that we have no idea of what the size and shape and cost and how we can fund it and so on and so forth. So we will continue that capital improvement plan process here in the short future. But this is a point in time at which we sort of put a pause on our planning is what you see up here. And this up here is what is the sort of the capital improvement plan priority list that Public Works had sort of blessed to Sarah when she submitted her projects. And her projects were done in sort of an interesting way, and much to the point she just made, she has different types of projects. So she has utility projects, she has I forgot. I got to look at my equipment and building practices, her major street reconstructions, and then development and planning projects. And so we did try to go forward and sort of sort things out based on the types of projects they were. And a lot of reasons we do that is there's different funding sources. So utility projects that are only utility projects are funded from a different pot of money than general fund projects or projects that are shared between the general fund and utilities. And so what you see up here is the type of project it is, followed by the priority it is among those different types of projects. So you can see here within Mr. G's and these here that within the development and planning projects that Mr. G's at this point fell down to 5 of 6, priority number 5 of 6 total, just ahead of the bike and pedestrian phase 2 plan. Some of the other ones that were up there ahead of it were downtown placemaking, the Walmart traffic signal, the Jefferson Eagles parking lot, and then phase, 1 of the bike and pedestrian plan. Now, what's important to note when we were going through the priority list is that part of the reason projects get moved up versus down is not always a need alone or desire alone, but also what is the feasibility of funding said project. So the downtown placemaking, most people would say, yeah, is that really more of a priority than redoing one of the parking lots? And the reason I'm surmising and I'm trying to go back over a year here is because it's a small cost. This was just a planning phase 2. If everybody remembers when we did some of the work with Vanderwall to decide on the downtown reconfiguration of our streets and parking study and things like that, we had them do a preliminary like downtown placemaking study. And so this would just be an addition. So that project in of itself for that downtown placemaking is maybe another $15,000, $20,000.
I had it at, yeah, it was like 40. But
was it?
I think it was a placeholder because I
Right.
didn't know how much, and the idea was like figuring out what our plan was would help us lead into the rest of these projects.
Right. So in a nutshell, there's two things that need to happen, right? Number one is we need to relook at the capital improvement plan overall, and we had similar to the budget team, we had a capital improvement team that would like take all the ideas and try to create like a draft budget and bring it back to the council for review and consideration. Now that we have a better understanding of what the landfill cost will be and how we're going to pay for it, the group now needs to go back and take another effort to make a capital improvement plan that will actually fit within our financial, boundaries. What you could do at this point tonight is, you could look at this priority list, and maybe you can't do it tonight because there are other projects this may be another full meeting where we go through this exercise and go and say like, yes, we understand Mr. G's parking lot. There's advocacy that be pushed up on the priority list. Are we prepared to move anything off? Or do we want to make special notes? And basically you're doing that because you're telling the budget team like, hey, from Public Works, do know that since that point in 2025, we shift our opinion and how we feel about Mr. G's relative to all the other projects. So I'll pause there and see if anybody has any comments, questions, or if Sarah wants to jump in with any other clarifications.
I don't necessarily have a clarification, but I think it would be hard to know. I mean, we really should go through these projects. If we're changing the order, that's what we did the first time, just to help better understand. Because you could say, I mean, I guess some of them are very self-explanatory, but things like the equipment, we talk about why we need it, or, the reconstruction projects. Some of those things we're sort of knocking off as we're going, but it's probably needs some bigger conversation.
Not having been a part of creating this, so I'm coming in late to it, but it would help me, and maybe you have this somewhere else, to know where the proposed or potential funding is coming from, because I know like buying a dump truck it's not going to be with a grant, right? So it's like just having a little bit of an idea about that would help me evaluate them.
Yeah, and to your point, Tanya, I think that's part of the reason why Sarah said, like, we really need to have a fuller conversation because as you can tell from this spreadsheet, I have pages upon pages upon pages upon pages that go into the most granular level of detail to explain all that, and we can absolutely get into it. But for it's certainly something I would do, right?
I got tricks.
Yeah.
Fancy spreadsheets.
Yeah, right.
There's no grant money for doing that parking lot?
Well, and that's kind of what I was hoping sort of out of that plan, getting a plan about what we're looking for to do downtown as a whole. And then looking for those funding sources. Cause if I remember when we first talked about it, what Kurt had said to me was there wasn't like a specific sort of parking lot one,
Mhm.
but like if we rolled it into like a downtown revitalization, bigger project with multiple things happening, maybe we have a better angle. So, and then what? I think, so like, again, resurfacing is pretty simple. I know that I'm not aware of any grants that would do like resurfacing the parking lot as a whole, as itself. But if we're talking about like doing more, there's a lot of like work through we need to do about what is more meaning, right? Like we've talked about trees, we've had some ideas about seating areas, like the next phase of all that downtown work, but we've only had ideas. We've never like said, this is what we'd like to see. And then, because usually, at least in my world, Public Works world more, we set a plan and then I go after figuring out how to pay for them, right? Or like what sequence we do things in, or, oh, we can pull this part out and the Public Works department can handle that smaller job, or, what it is. So but you're right, there could be.
Because I recall seeing, I think it's what Nate was referring to earlier, a lot of drawings of the trees and the flower pots, and when we were deciding one ways and all that extra parking, there was also talk about beautifying it. And I've had people ask me, I thought you guys were going to make it look better. So,
Right.
Yeah, well, and then that's absolutely what the intention was. It's just like we had said, like, there's a lot we're deciding right now. It took us how long? A year and a half to get to the point where we knew we wanted and could do something about the downtown configuration, parking, safety aspects of crossing Main Street. It took us a year and a half to 2 years to actually get a plan settled. And then for implementation just got done in 2024, right? And so we were trying to take big bites at a time for certain, but there were certain things that we said, like, let's get through
There's
phase
a
one
lot
here
still
before.
left there, but
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah,
the next phase.
the next
right?
phase.
so if we could somehow combine that with Mr. G's.
Well, and you asked the question about grant funding, and we had looked into it like from a Vibrant Spaces grant. I mean, Sarah's very good at finding money, very
Yes,
good at
she
finding
is.
money in
Yes, she is.
conjunction with Beer And so far, to put it bluntly, we have not found anything that will help pay for a parking lot redone
itself,
as
yeah.
itself. But right now, as you can see up there, I know it's small, but was considered a TID 6 project because it does support the downtown businesses and just economic development in general. The hard part about that is, a lot of projects want TID 6 money, right? The Eckhart Playground project is taking $375,000 or $365,000 from TID 6, right? So there's no shortage of our reconstruction projects in the downtown Center Street often drive from TID 6, things like that. So I guess at that point, I'll stop talking and see if anybody has any conversations about where they would like us to go with next. I think from Sarah and I's perspective is like, we need to go through sort of the full process again, but it's your guys' meeting and we'd be open to any feedback.
Well, it sounds like you've had a temporary fix and it seems to be working at the moment. So that would give us maybe time to get into trying to, what's the next step, right? Do you need did you want to say something? Ruthie?
I mean, ideally also, like, this really can't start, at least in my mind, this summer because it is already exploding out, with parking, and people sort of shut it down at this point. Even if this moved really quickly would be really hard. So, even just the idea that, like, okay, great. So yes, we want to be put back on the potentially a priority, and then we can reconsider the conversation. I think that would even go really far for anybody that is starting to get upset about it.
Okay, thank you. Right. So do you need any kind of motion for you? to
Sarah,
just-
can I ask real
Oh, yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
Like Mr. G's lot up there, the Muriel, how, is that pretty bad shape yet? I know it's cracked. By the Muriel? Okay, sorry. By the Muriel, on that side with Mr. G's lot, how's that parking lot? How's that side? The upper side?
Microphone's not on, Sarah.
It's not on.
Mic's not on.
Sorry. Okay, so, and I'm not sharing my screen, but you can see like the worst part is here. This part, like you can see some of that alligator cracking and stuff. So it's not in good condition. Oh, right. I apologize. I can see that there's alligator cracking. So, I mean, it's been in bad shape, which is why we have in the proposal, like a full dig up the base material, everything situation. Where am I here, Nate? Why
Well,
can't-
nobody can see.
No, I know. I was gonna try to take over the screen, but
Well, I got
maybe
it on.
I gotta go that way. Oh, that's why it's this tiny itty bitty thing now.
No, sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, so like you were talking about like this lane over here, right? Where the white,
The flower shop?
yeah. So that back like coming up is actually, I mean, it's all broken up, right? It's like failed asphalt is the gist of it. And then it kind of like rolls up into where Ruthie's car is, right? I mean, it's not great, but then it starts not being our property anymore. I mean, it's pretty rough because I think like between the two buildings, the water that runs off kind of is starting to eat away at parts of it. I mean, it's a parking lot that needs to be redone. there's no seal coating it and it'll be okay kind of thing. It's like this thing needs to be done. And that's part of the delay. Like, unfortunately, those big reconstruction projects get pushed off because it needs to be sequenced. They're such big projects. There's no sense in doing anything until you're really doing it and then you're fixing it. And who knows when they built that parking lot? Gosh, I don't even know. Do you know when that original parking lot would have been built?
I was here, Matthew did it.
Okay.
They did all the shaping and all
Yeah.
that. Memory none. It's when I was here early there, I'd say in the
Early.
90s sometime.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it's not holding up super well. I mean, it's a 30-year-old-ish surface, 40-year-old surface. I mean, that's, parking lots are not supposed to take that heavy traffic. And so they tend to last longer, but it also depends how it was built in the first place. And we have soils that seem to eat base material, being acidic, and you just never really know. And what was underneath. Sometimes we don't always take, we found the other parking lot, the tire shop parking lot, we found old foundations from buildings that used to be there. And so that doesn't help. I mean, you never know. When you're downtown, it's an interesting experience. You literally never know what you might run into. Old oil tanks. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, there wasn't a Driftless Cafe back then either. It was a computer shop or something in the 90s. Yeah.
I think that's truly how old.
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
There was a computer shop too, right there. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, these trucks are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clinton now has other semis that are coming in, so it truly
Oh,
is a
sure.
really big bummer for the lot, and so taking more time, but the reality is I don't know where else to tell trucks.
Yeah. Well, it's just building accordingly, right? So knowing that now, I would build that differently than they probably never thought that there'd be loads like that.
So what do you need from us today? Just
I think just an
Motion to
awareness,
proceed
right?
or
And
not?
I cannot wait till the capital improvement plan is done. I totally understand why we're not there yet, but it's a super important tool because it helps us prioritize. So, and then we know, it's more than just a parking lot, right? People
Yeah.
are using it.
So you don't need a motion today.
I don't think so. Do you have a?
Okay.
Your guys' call, I mean, again, this was brought up by a community member. We thought it was important to get it on the agenda as a result. And this is, in my mind, been a good update to let you know where we stand currently with it, and what you do with it from here is kind of your call. But
Yeah, what's our
I'm not
next?
personally looking for an action item at this point.
Do you need us to tell you what we want you to do next? Or I assume you said we need to relook at this. Is that something we do at the council meeting? Is that something that the Capitol?
It would start
Group
here
does-
as one of the things I said, we would bring it back at Public Works for a review and update of the full capital improvement plan is a full agenda item that would give Sarah and I
Okay.
time to prepare that list, because as you saw, some of those items have already been completed, like Center
Yeah.
Avenue was already done and things like that. So some of those have already launched, and Sarah may have gotten different information from that point in time that she would like to add. I think County Road BB was one that was on there as well that didn't make it on the last iteration, but she asked me to include it now and think about it. So I would say next Public Works meeting, we'll pick up the conversation.
Okay. Sound good, everyone? Okay, construction project update. Thank you, Ruthie.
So So I'm gonna say that that's good for now. Yeah. Yeah, I think I want to go get my kid if I can. Okay. All right. Well, Cheryl probably has an update, but I'm gonna go slip out and pick him up real quick. Bring him back here.
Utility department updates, right? Are you
Sure.
doing construction? No?
I just wanted to mention real quick, I just want to remind everybody that hydrant flushing starts the last week of April, first week of May. And we will be starting to advertise through Trina on Facebook, et cetera.
Guys, she's trying to brief us here.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Yep.
It's okay.
Why don't you start again?
Sorry.
I was just reminding everybody that hydrant flushing is coming up. So we'll be hydrant flushing last week of April, first week of May. And we'll be starting doing the notices on Thursday and Friday. So Trina will be posting, I'll have Trina post everything on our media pages, and then I'll have them start on the radio on Friday.
Very good. Do you need anything else going on you need to tell us about?
Not
Since you
really.
got the floor.
I know, right?
You have a captive audience here.
Nope, not really. I will not be here next Public Works meeting. I'll be on vacation this time. And just moving forward with, regular everyday stuff. We're good.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Cheryl. Guys, you just can't keep kids interested. What can I say? Okay, second period for public comment. I assume there's no one here, and I'm assuming there's no one online who wants to talk because I can't get them on if they do. So, sorry, folks. Let's do an adjournment.
That'll make a motion to adjourn.
AJ, I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.